For the letter N, again, I couldn't find a book title that started with N, but I found an author's name. So this book is Some Girls Bite by Chloe Neill, and it is the first book in the Chicagoland Vampire series, which is an amazing adult urban fantasy paranormal series about vampires. The story follows a girl called Mead who gets attacked by a vampire one night, so she will become a vampire herself, and she will also have to move into one of the vampire houses where she meets the master of that house called Ethan. And if you just only read these books to meet Ethan, then that's one very good reason, because he is amazing, I'm telling you. And this whole series, just it's just very fast-paced and action-packed, and with witty dialogue and fantastic characters. All these side characters are just amazing as well. And there's also some intrigue and secrets in these books, and they are amazing. For the letter O, I have On the Island by Tracey Garvis Graves, and this is a young adult, new adult, contemporary-ish kind of book, but it's one of my favorite books ever. This is about two people who, after a plane crash, get stranded on a deserted island, and it's about their survival story and just how they form this relationship between them, even though they have this age difference, because Anna, the female character in this, would have been originally the guy's, TJ's, private tutor, I guess. So TJ is a 16-year-old girl, he's a 16-year-old boy, and Anna would have been her teacher. But since they are stuck on this island, their feelings start to develop and stuff like that, and it's amazing. And I love the survival aspect of this story, and I love the romance aspect of this, and then how it will play out. And I think a lot of people would really enjoy this if they gave this a chance. So yes, please give this book a try, because I think you would love it. For the letter P, I have chosen Poison Studies by Maria V. Snyder, which is the first book in the Poison trilogy. And this is a young adult fantasy series, and this is about a girl called Yelena who needs to make a choice between death or becoming the king's food taster, poison taster, stuff like that. And she obviously chooses the second option. And this is a very amazing fantasy story, and it has magic in it, and amazing characters in it, and amazing romance in it. But I still need to read the second and the third book, but I really do recommend the first book, which is Poison Study. For the letter Q, I couldn't find either a book title or an author's name with starting with a Q, but I found a book in which title you can find the letter Q somewhere, and it is The Sea of Tranquility, so by Katja Millay. And this is again one of my all-time favorite books. It's a young adult contemporary in which our main character Nastia is a girl who decided not to talk after something happened to her. And she again puts on this tough persona, and she doesn't let anyone near her, and she obviously doesn't talk to anybody. But one day a guy kind of complicates things, and Josh Bennett just shakes her up. And this is not a fast-paced story. It's kind of slow and it's quiet, but it's also very loud in what it wants to say, and the writing is just so very beautiful. For me, it just reads so easily, and the characters are just amazing, and you feel for them and you root for them, and your heart gets broken in this book, but it's so good. I really hope that some of you will read this book, because for me it's one of my favorites. For the letter R, I have chosen an author's name that started with an R, and it is The Edge of Never by J.A. Redmerski. And this is a new adult contemporary book which I absolutely adored when I read it. And in this book we have Cameron, who kind of makes a very rushed decision that she just wants to leave everything behind, and so she gets on this bus she doesn't even know where she's going. She just wants to get out of her life, and on that bus she meets Andrew, who is kind of similar soul, so he also wants to escape his past, and he has some secrets, and Cameron has some secrets, and I just love this story, especially because, it's kind of a road trip story, which I always adore. And I just love how their relationship grow, and I did not see the ending. I'm just going to say that, and in a very good way, and I want to reread this book as well. And this cover is just so gorgeous, and I just love how the spine is this bright yellow. And yeah, if you love new adult contemporary, then this is the book for you. For the letter S, I have chosen Succubus Blues by Richelle Mead, and this book is the first one in the Georgina Kincaid series, which consists of 6 books, and all of those 6 books are just so perfect. This is an adult urban fantasy paranormal series. It's one of the best ones that I have read in that genre, and the story follows a young woman called Georgina, who is a succubus. So what she does is, when she gets intimate with a guy, she sucks away his soul or part of his soul, and that way she can basically shorten your life, or I think she can also kill you. But this kind of makes having a relationship with someone a little bit difficult, especially if that someone is human. And in this book, that will be exactly the case when she starts to have feelings for this human called Seth. And their relationship and romance is just one of my all-time favorites, and I remember that just from one line in one of those books I started crying so hard, because it was a part of a song, a lyrics of a song, and just that one sentence made me bawl my eyes out, because that's how deeply I feel for this couple in this. But also just every side character, sidekick is just amazing in this, and you have every kind of paranormal creature in this, or not creature, but just every type of paranormal things in this book. So if you want to check out something in the adult urban fantasy paranormal genre, then I would really recommend the Georgina Kincaid series by Richelle Mead. And Richelle Mead's writing is just fantastic, and her stories are amazing. For the letter T, I have Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, which is a very hyped up book on BookTube right now, and for a good reason, because it's so fantastic. It's kick-ass, it's action-packed, it's fast-paced, and Selena, our main character, is one of the best main female characters that I have ever read about. She is fierce, but also she is kind of girly, and that's one of the best combinations, because I hate that in every kind of book, if we have a tough female character, she hates everything that is girly. So she hates clothes, and she hates, hair and beauty and stuff like that. And Selena is not one of those, and I'm so happy to read about somebody like her. And she's also an assassin, so that combination is killer. And again, one of my favorite romantic subplot stories, lines going on in this book. And I think this is going to be one of my favorite series ever, even though we only have the first 2 books so far. But the second book just blew this one out of the water too, even though this one was a 5-star read, obviously. But if you are in the mood for a young adult fantasy kick-ass story, then this would be perfect for you, and I really cannot recommend this enough. For the letter U, I have Unearthly by Cynthia Hand. And this is an angel story done freaking right. This is the best angel series or trilogy that I have ever read. And this story follows a girl called Clara, and she is part angel. And because of that, she has a purpose in this life, and she gets visions of that purpose. And in these visions, she sees a young boy in a forest fire, and obviously she thinks that she needs to save him, so she moves to this town where she actually meets this boy. But I didn't really read the synopsis of this book before I read it, and because of that, I really don't want to say anything more about this book, because I want you all to have the same feelings when you read this, and not know the whole thing in advance. but it's one of my favorite trilogies, and it's an angel story that is perfect. If you love young adult paranormal books and angel stories, then this is one of the best ones out there. For the letter V, I don't really have an unknown book because I have chosen Divergent by Veronica Roth, so there's your letter V. But I couldn't really find anything with the letter V that I really loved, unless I would have chosen the Vampire Academy, but I have already talked about that series in this video. But anyways, Divergent will forever be one of my favorite books ever, even though I didn't really like the sequel Insurgent, and I really didn't like the third book Allegiant. But even if you don't read those two books, I would still say that read the first one, because, you know, it could be a standalone, but it's an amazing book and one of the best words that I have ever read about. But yeah, the first book is absolutely amazing. For W, I have Wait For You by Lynn, aka Jennifer L. Armentrout, and this is one of her new adult contemporary books, which I really adore. This is about a young girl called Avery, who is a freshman at college, and she kinda comes to this college, to this new town, because she wants to escape her past. So she has some secrets that we don't know at the very beginning, but by the end of the book we will obviously get some knowledge in that. That doesn't make any sense. But anyways, in this book she meets Cam, who is a very funny, very outgoing, very handsome young man, and again, he just shakes her world up a bit, and it's just amazing how they go from, you know, friendship to a little bit more. And again, I have to reread this book as well, because I can't quite remember the details, but I remember that I really adored it. So that's why I recommend this book to you. The letter X was a really tricky one, because I couldn't find either a title that started with an X or an author, but I found a title in which you can find the letter X, and it is Lola and the Boy Next Door by Stephenie Perkins. It is the second book that I have read by Stephenie Perkins, and this is kind of a companion novel to Anna and the French Kiss, which is my favorite contemporary of all time. And this one was really good as well. In this story we have Lola, who is this, you know, quirky, not very shy, outgoing girl who has her perfect boyfriend, but then Cricket moves to the house next door, and I think it's a remove, so he already lived there when they were kids, I think, yeah. And yeah, I really enjoyed this book. Not as much as Anna and the French Kiss, but it comes in a close second, so I really recommend that you check this book out, and just anything that Stephenie Perkins writes. For the letter Y, I couldn't find a book title that started with a Y that I really adored, but I found a book whose author's last name starts with a Y, and it is On Dublin Street by Samantha Young, which is an adult romance novel in which our main character Jocelyn moves to Scotland because she wants to leave her past behind, and she moves to this new apartment on Dublin Street, and there she meets Braden Carmichael, who is used to having everything that he wants and getting everything he wants, and he wants Jocelyn. So they kind of have this agreement, which would basically mean that they would use each other in a physical way. But again, like how it always ends up, they start to have feelings for each other, and that complicates things. And it's kind of like, you know, 50 Shades of Grey in the terms of that they have an agreement, but I don't think this has anything to do with, you know, BDSM and stuff like that. But I'm not sure, but this one was really good. And lastly, the letter Z was again a tricky one, so I chose The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, so there's your Z. And I don't think I have to say anything about this book other than it's amazing. This book left such, you know, an impression on me when I first read it. I couldn't stop talking about it, and it was back in the day when it was not, you know, very talked about. But this is amazing, and I really hope this will never come true, because I would die very quickly. But I really love The Hunger Games and the sequel, Catching Fire. Mockingjay, not so much, but I still recommend to read the whole trilogy. So those were all the books from A to Z that I wanted to recommend to all of you, and I know I kind of sucked at it because I kept saying that, ooh, this book is so good and so amazing, but yeah, I just suck at explaining why I love books. But anyways, I hope you check out some of these books if you feel like it, and let me know in the comment section below if you have read any of these books, because I would love to talk about them with you, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye. For the letter C, I have chosen Catching Jordan by Miranda Connelly, and I have recently read this book, which is a contemporary book. So again, if you love contemporary, I would really recommend this book to you.